Right now, somewhere, an engineer is maintaining a WebSocket cluster for a feature a webhook would have handled for free. Four patterns make the web feel real-time. Most teams pick by habit. Today, we pick by physics. Here's the whole video in one question. Who needs to start the conversation and how often? Answer that, and the choice between webhooks, WebSockets, server-sent events, and long polling makes itself. By the end, you'll have the decision map on one screen. Four patterns, four familiar products. The payment confirmation that pings your Slack, a webhook. The AI answer typing itself out, server-sent events. The cursor's swarming a Figma canvas, a WebSocket. The chat that somehow works on airport Wi-Fi, long polling. Same internet, four different conversations. Start with the problem. HTTP has a contract. The client asks, the server answers, the connection closes. That's it. The server cannot speak first. Your server might know the payment cleared, the build failed, the message arrived, and it has no way to tell anyone. Everything in this video is a workaround for that one sentence. The naive fix is asking again and again. Anything new? No. Anything new? No. That's polling. A toddler in the back seat asking, "Are we there yet?" Every 3 seconds, forever. And it's worse than annoying. It's expensive in both directions. 10,000 clients polling every 2 seconds is 5,000 requests a second, almost all of them returning nothing. You pay for headers, handshakes, and empty answers. Miss the window, and your real-time update is 2 seconds late anyway. To be fair, plain polling isn't evil. For a dashboard refreshing every minute, it's perfect. Cacheable, stateless, dumb in the best way. The crime isn't polling, it's polling every second for something that changes twice a day. Long polling is the first clever trick. Same request, but the server doesn't answer. It holds the question open. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, until news actually arrives. Then it responds, the client instantly asks again, and the loop continues. It feels like push. It's secretly still pull. This hack has history. Around 2006, it got a name, Comet, and it powered the first generation of web chat, including early Gmail chat. Before fancier protocols existed, held open requests were real-time on the web. On the wire, it looks strange, a request that just sits there. Pending. Then the moment your order ships, the response fires, and a new request takes its place within milliseconds. There's always exactly one question waiting at the counter. The costs. Every waiting client is an open connection your server babysits. Old thread per request stacks fell over here. Proxies love killing idle connections mid-wait. And between answer and re-ask, there's a tiny gap where events can pile up. It works everywhere. HTTP works, that's its superpower, but it's a fragile kind of everywhere. Where you'll still meet it today, SDKs that must survive any network, fallbacks inside real-time libraries, and chat API is that promise to work behind the worst corporate proxy on Earth. It's the cockroach of real-time, unkillable, slightly ugly. Server-sent events fix the loop with something almost embarrassingly simple. One HTTP response that never finishes. The server just keeps writing lines into it. Data, new message. Data, build past. The browser has a built-in client for this, event source, and the whole thing is still plain, boring HTTP. The format is text you can read with your eyes, a data, prefix, your payload, a blank line. That's a complete event. No frames, no binary protocol, no handshake beyond the request you already made. And SSE ships superpowers nobody advertises. The browser reconnects automatically when the connection drops. It sends the last event ID back so the server can resume where you left off. Proxies, CDNs, corporate firewalls, they all see ordinary HTTP and let it through. Server code, you can write it in 20 lines. And here's the receipt that settles it. When an AI chat answers you token by token, that stream is usually server-sent events. The biggest LLMAP is ship they're streaming over SSE. The hottest interface in software runs on the most boring transport. The traps, it's one way, server to client only. It's text only, binary needs encoding. And the classic footgun, on HTTP/1.1, Browsers allow about 6 connections per domain. Open 6 tabs of your app, each holding an SSE stream, and the 7th tab just starves. HTTP/2 multiplexing made that problem largely disappear. Quick head-to-head because this is the one people actually agonize over. If the browser only listens, notifications, feeds, dashboards, AI tokens, SSE wins on simplicity and self-healing. The moment the browser must talk back constantly, you've outgrown it. Now the heavyweight. WebSockets start life as a normal HTTP request, then ask for an upgrade. The server replies 101 switching protocols, and from that moment, the connection is not HTTP anymore. It's a raw, persistent, two-way pipe. Either side can send anything, anytime. The handshake is the whole ceremony. One request with upgrade, WebSocket, 1101 response, done. After that, no headers, no requests, no responses. Just frames. Tiny, cheap, in both directions. That's what makes the chatter economical. A WebSocket frame can be a few bytes. Cursor moved, key pressed, price ticked. Things HTTP would wrap in half a kilobyte of headers travel almost naked. At 60 messages a second, that difference is the product. So WebSockets earn their keep where both sides talk constantly. Multiplayer games, collaborative cursors, live trading books, presence in chat apps. High frequency, both directions. Now the bill. A WebSocket is state. 1 million users means 1 million open sockets living in your server's memory. Load balancers need sticky routing. Scaling out means a pub-sub backbone. And when the connection drops, reconnect, resume, replay, all yours to build. 2 words you'll meet on day 1 of WebSocket operations: ping and pong. Connections die silently, so both sides heartbeat. Miss a few pongs, kill the socket, reconnect. Every serious WebSocket service is also a heartbeat monitoring service. It can be done, famously well. WhatsApp once ran millions of connections on a single server. The point isn't that WebSockets don't scale, it's that you scale them. Nothing is automatic. Now flip the entire picture. Everything so far keeps a browser fed. Webhooks aren't for browsers at all. They're server to server. You don't open a connection and wait. You register a URL and hang up. When the event finally happens, their server makes an HTTP request to yours. Don't call us. We'll call you. Which quietly reverses your role. You're the server now. A public HTTPS endpoint. A post arrives. Payment succeeded. Push event, build finished. You verify it, return 200 fast, and do the real work asynchronously. Security is not optional here, and anyone can post JSON at you. So providers sign every delivery with an HMAC signature in a header, and your first line of code checks it. Skip that, and you've built an unauthenticated API for your own money. The superpower: silence is free, no open sockets, no polling loops, no idle anything. An event that happens twice a month costs exactly 2 requests a month. This is also why SaaS companies beg you to use webhooks instead of polling. 10,000 integrations polling every minute melts rate limiters. 1 webhook per event costs almost nothing. The pain: you must be reachable. Public URL, TLS, local tunnels. Deliveries fail, so providers retry. Retries mean duplicates. Duplicates mean idempotency keys. Ordering isn't guaranteed. Debugging is half forensics. The ecosystem built tooling for exactly this pain: signature libraries, replay dashboards, local tunnels, and webhook gateways. If your provider offers an event log with redelivery, use it. It's the black box recorder. Put all 4 on one screen and the fog lifts. Who initiates? Which direction? What transport? Browser native or not? Binary or text? Who pays for reconnection? What idling costs? 4 patterns, no mystery left. Notice what's not on that table: speed. Which one is fastest is the wrong question. Once connected, all 4 deliver in milliseconds. The real differences are direction and connection economics. One more modern wrinkle: HTTP/2 and HTTP/3 changed the economics underneath everyone. Multiplexing made SSE cheaper. Faster handshakes made reconnects gentler. The pattern stayed the same, the penalties shrank. Here's the axis that matters: How often events happen versus how long connections sit idle. Hold sockets open for rare events, and you're paying rent on silence. Poll repeatedly for constant chatter, and you're paying per question. The traffic shape, not the technology, decides what's wasteful. And because nothing's real until it breaks at 2 in the morning, long polling fails as a thundering herd when everyone reconnects. SSE fails behind buffering proxies. WebSockets fail at the load balancer. Webhooks fail quietest of all. Nothing arrives and nothing tells you. Know your pattern's failure smell. So the decision map is simple. Server talking to server about events. Webhooks. Browser needs a live feed in one direction. SSE. Genuinely two-way and chatty. WebSockets. Trapped behind hostile networks. Long polling. And real systems stack them. A Stripe webhook hits your backend. Your backend pushes SSE to the dashboard. The support chat writes a WebSocket. 3 patterns, 1 product. They're layers, not rivals. If this comes up in an interview, the winning answer is the question itself. Who initiates? Which direction? How often? Say that sentence first and you sound like you've operated all 4. Same law as always. Pick the most boring thing that matches your traffic shape and upgrade only when the shape changes, not when the conference talk does. That's the real difference. Subscribe for one deep dive like this every week and drop your stacks pattern in the comments.